My boyfriend uninvited me from his sister's wedding to take his girl best friend instead. But I'm going anyway. For starters, I love my boyfriend's family. What I don't love is his girl best friend. My boyfriend has been friends with this girl since childhood and admits that he was in love with her for years, but she just kept stringing him along. She would flirt with him, say things like, "But can you imagine if we were together? That would be amazing." They made marriage pacts and things like that. But she would always get a boyfriend and friend-zone him. This cycle of flirting when she was single and acting like they were just friends when she had a boyfriend continued all through college until he met me. I've only met his girl best friend a few times because she lives in another state, but every time has been unpleasant. She's insufferable and thinks everything between us is a competition. Who knows him better? Who would make a better wife? Like, why are you even thinking that? It's so weird. But somehow, it always comes back to who is closer to his family. She constantly talks about how his mom is like a second mother to her and how she really feels like part of the family. Okay, cool. Not sure what to say to that. About a week ago, my boyfriend's sister's wedding invitation arrived, addressed to him, but it included a +1. Obviously, that +1 was for me. We've been dating for years. It was expected, or so I thought. In the first few days after receiving the invitation, he was talking about plans, flights for the wedding, and so on. But after a few days, he stopped mentioning the wedding. If I brought it up, he would change the subject. 2 days ago, I got home, and my boyfriend was in the bedroom on speakerphone with someone. I would recognize that whiny, nasally voice anywhere. It was his girl best friend. She was talking about what she should wear to the wedding, which I didn't find odd at first. She always says how close she is to his family, so I assumed she'd be invited. I walked into the bedroom and greeted her on the phone. He looked startled, which was weird because I had greeted her on speaker before, and it was never a problem. I told her I was looking forward to seeing her at the wedding, which was a lie, but I was trying to be polite. Tell me why this girl responds, "Oh, I'm so glad you got your own invitation." I was starting to feel bad about taking your +1. Taking my +1? What? My boyfriend quickly told her he had to go, and I just stood there with my arms crossed, waiting for an explanation. He told me she didn't receive an invitation to the wedding. Shocking, considering how close she claims to be with his family. He said she called him, all upset, saying it would mean everything to her to go to the wedding and celebrate with the people she loves most. The people she loves most, yet she wasn't even invited? I told him it was really strange that he would choose someone other than his girlfriend as his +1 for his own sister's wedding. He said that since they've known her forever, it wouldn't be that weird. I was like, well, she wasn't invited. And he had the nerve to say, "Neither were you." I was stunned. I told him that +1 was clearly meant for me. I've talked to his sister about her wedding multiple times. Just because my name wasn't on it doesn't mean it wasn't for me. And he said, "Well, your name isn't there, so I can choose who I want to take. And I'm taking my friend." I stormed out and went to my best friend's house, crying and telling her everything. I felt so embarrassed. I know I shouldn't feel that way, but how could he not even want me there? Then I got an unexpected call from his sister. She told me my boyfriend had called her to explain the situation, and she was furious. She said the +1 was obviously for me and apologized, saying she was trying to save on customization costs, but would have put my name if she knew he'd pull something like this. She was sorry if it seemed like I wasn't welcome. The best part? She started talking about his girl best friend and said, "There's absolutely no way I'm letting that leech into my wedding." She told me their entire family despises this girl because she strung my boyfriend along for years, is rude, selfish, and ungrateful. Every time she was at their house, she made a mess and never cleaned up. She said they intentionally didn't invite her. The girl lies, saying she's close to the family, but they don't even talk to her. His sister told me she revoked my boyfriend's +1 and would be sending me my own invitation. She even said that if I decided to break up with my boyfriend over this, she'd still love to have me at the wedding, because she feels like I'm already part of the family. How the tables have turned. So now I know I'll be at that wedding. Whether I go with my boyfriend or not, that's still up for debate. I got home exhausted, still trying to process everything that had happened. I was still surprised by the call from my boyfriend's sister, and knowing she was on my side. But as I was packing my things, I heard the door slam open. My boyfriend stormed into the apartment with a look on his face that I had never seen before. He looked furious, his eyes narrowed, and there was a threatening energy in the air. "Where's the invitation?" he snapped, without even saying hello. I froze in the middle of the room, holding a suitcase that I had started to fill with my clothes. "What invitation?" I asked, though I knew exactly what he was talking about. Don't play dumb. My sister sent you an invitation, right? You're going to give it to me. It's for my best friend, he said, stepping closer, his tone growing harsher with every word. I felt cornered. I knew this conversation wasn't going to end well, but I never imagined he would take it this far. That invitation is mine, and you know it. Your sister was very clear about it. She even canceled your +1. I tried to explain, my voice already starting to tremble. He laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of humor. It was cruel, as if he were mocking me.
Of course, she said that.
She likes you, but don't you get it? The person who really matters here is my best friend. Do you think she'll forgive me if I don't take her? I already promised her she'd come with me. Hand over the invitation and stop being selfish. He held out his hand, expecting me to obey. At that moment, I felt the tears starting to stream down my face. I was hurt, but also filled with anger. How could he treat me like this? How could he choose someone who had manipulated and used him for years over me, someone who had always been by his side? Selfish? My voice cracked at first, but I took a deep breath and continued. You think I'm selfish? You're defending someone who used you like a toy for years. She led you on, put you in the friend zone, and disappeared every time she got a new boyfriend. And now you want me to give her something that's mine? What right do you think you have? He didn't respond immediately. He just stared at me with a cold expression, like he didn't recognize me anymore. And then he exploded. You don't understand anything. She's important to me. She always has been. Maybe you're the one who's wrong here. Maybe you're not as special as you think. If you really loved me, you'd do this for me without question. He shouted, his voice echoing through the apartment. That was the final straw. My heart shattered completely. I couldn't stay there any longer, couldn't keep fighting for someone who clearly didn't value me. With trembling hands, I grabbed the invitation from the table and handed it to him. Here. If this is what you want, take it. And take her too. Because I'm not going to stay here and watch you throw away everything we had for someone who never respected you. My voice was low but firm. I knew there was no turning back. I picked up my suitcase and walked to the door.
He didn't try to stop me.
Not a word. He just stood there, holding the invitation like he had won some kind of battle. I walked out without looking back, crying so much that I could barely see the road ahead. I arrived at his sister's house hours later. She opened the door, and the moment she saw me, she knew something was wrong. She invited me in, and as soon as I sat on the couch, I broke down. I told her everything that had happened, every cruel word, every unfair decision. She listened in silence, but I could see the anger building in her eyes. He did what? She finally asked, her voice full of outrage. He demanded that you give the invitation to that leech? And you gave it to him? I did, I admitted, my voice weak. I couldn't fight anymore. He doesn't respect me, doesn't value me. If she means that much to him, let them be together. I'm done. She shook her head in disbelief. This is unacceptable. You did everything right, and he treated you like this? He's an idiot, and I'm going to fix this right now. She stood up, grabbed her phone, and started typing furiously. I watched her, confused. A few minutes later, she turned to me with a determined smile. I just canceled their invitations. Neither of them will be at my wedding. And you know what? You deserve so much more than this. You deserve to be there, holding your head high, because you're part of this family now. They're not. I didn't know what to say. For the first time that night, I felt valued and understood. She continued, You are amazing. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise, especially my idiot brother. And if you need a place to stay, this house is yours. I won't let you go through this alone. The tears came back, but this time they weren't from sadness. I hugged her tightly, grateful to have someone by my side. Maybe the end of that relationship was just the beginning of something better. I didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, I felt strong enough to face anything. The big day finally arrived. I was nervous but determined. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time before leaving. The dress fit me perfectly, and the makeup was subtle but highlighted my confidence. I didn't want to seem like I was there to compete with anyone, but I also wasn't going to let anyone make me feel small. His sister had sent me a message saying she was excited to see me, and that gave me strength. I took a deep breath and left. When I arrived at the venue, I was greeted with warm hugs. His entire family welcomed me, as if nothing had happened. His mother was the first to greet me. I'm so glad you came, dear. You've always been like a daughter to me. She hugged me sincerely, and I felt the weight of the past days lighten. They led me to a well-placed table, surrounded by family and close friends. Laughter flowed naturally, and the joy was contagious. It was his sister's day, and nothing should ruin it. Everything was perfect, until suddenly I felt the atmosphere shift. Discreet glances started turning toward the entrance. I followed their gaze, and there he was. My ex dressed formally, but with an uncomfortable expression, as if he knew he wasn't welcome. He looked around, maybe searching for support, but all he found were cold and indifferent stares. His best friend wasn't there. He was alone. Curious, I discreetly approached one of the bride's uncles and asked why he was there. We decided to let him stay. The uncle whispered, his expression serious. If we kicked him out, it could cause an unnecessary scene. Today is his sister's day, and he's not going to ruin it. I nodded slightly, understanding. But shortly after, someone from the family approached him. It was the bride's brother. He went straight to him but spoke in a low voice to avoid drawing attention. "What are you doing here? You weren't invited. And where's that leech you call your best friend?" He lowered his gaze, uncomfortable, and muttered something, but those nearby managed to hear him. "She didn't want to come. She said she was going out with another friend." His voice was barely audible. The entire table stifled laughter. The irony was too obvious. He had been deceived and replaced again. That best friend he ruined our relationship for chose to go out with another guy instead of being with him. Someone murmured, "Serves him right. You reap what you sow." We pretended nothing was happening, but his humiliation was clear. He stayed there, uncomfortable, isolated, with no one to talk to. He had no place among us anymore. Every shared smile, every knowing glance from the family made him shrink even more. After the ceremony, during the reception, his sister, the bride, approached him. The soft smile she had worn all day was gone. "Do you have any idea what you did?" She spoke quietly, but her tone was firm. "You lost the best person who's ever been in your life. And you still had the nerve to show up here after everything?" He tried to justify himself, but she raised her hand, cutting him off.
No.
"You've said enough. From now on, you're no longer part of my life."
She is.
She pointed proudly at me. "And you better accept it." I watched the scene from a distance. I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt relieved. At that moment, any remaining connection between us was completely broken. The rest of the night was light and fun. I danced, talked, and laughed with everyone. His mother hugged me again before I left. "I want you to know that this will always be your family, no matter what." In that moment, I realized I didn't need him anymore. I never did. His family accepted me for who I was, and he chose his path. I moved on, stronger, more confident, and surrounded by people who truly cared about me. Time passed, as it always does, and the pain that once felt unbearable slowly began to fade. At first, I still carried the weight of everything that had happened. The humiliation, the anger, the disappointment. But over time, I realized that none of that defined me. It wasn't the end of my story, just the closing of a chapter that desperately needed to end. After the wedding, I stayed at his sister's house for a while. She welcomed me with a kindness I never expected. In fact, the entire family continued treating me with warmth, as if nothing had changed. And in a way, something had changed. I finally understood the true value of the people around me who genuinely respected me. His mother, always a sweet and understanding woman, would call me from time to time just to check on me. She never tried to justify her son's behavior or pressure me in any way. She simply said how sorry she was for everything that happened and that I deserved so much better. As for him, well, the last I heard about him was through a mutual friend. After the embarrassment he suffered at his sister's wedding, he became isolated from his own family. His sister cut him off completely, and even his mother, deeply disappointed, distanced herself. He tried to reconnect with his so-called best friend, but unsurprisingly, she had already moved on to another guy. As usual, they say he tried dating after that, but nothing ever lasted. Maybe because he never learned how to truly value the people who stood by him. And her, his best friend? From what I heard, she remained exactly the same, jumping from friend to friend, from man to man, maintaining shallow relationships, always chasing attention. It seems like she never matured, and maybe she never will. People like her tend to live in a never-ending cycle, constantly searching for something they can't even define. As for me, I decided to rebuild myself. I started investing more in myself, in my career, in my studies. I went out with friends, traveled, visited places I had always wanted to see. And of course, at some point, someone new came into my life. It wasn't sudden or like something out of a movie. It felt natural. I met Daniel at a work event. He was nothing like anyone I had met before. Kind, respectful, and most importantly, honest. There were no games, no insecurities, no competition. With him, I felt safe from the very beginning. There was no anxiety to impress him, no fear of being left behind. He saw me for who I truly was. Over time, we grew closer. Our conversations flowed easily, and the connection between us was something I didn't even know was possible. Daniel respected my space, my opinions, my time. He wasn't perfect, nobody is, but he was someone who knew the value of a healthy relationship. And that's exactly what we built, a real partnership. I remember one day, during a casual conversation, I ended up telling him a bit about my past with my ex. I didn't go into details, I didn't need to. Daniel listened attentively and said something I'll never forget. The past doesn't define who you are now, but it prepared you to recognize who truly deserves to be by your side. And he was right. Today, when I look back, I don't feel anger or resentment. Everything that happened had to happen for me to finally recognize my own worth. I wasn't the one who needed to change, and I wasn't the one who was wrong. I was simply in the wrong place, with the wrong person. His sister got married, and it was a beautiful ceremony. I still keep in touch with her to this day. We message each other from time to time, and have even gone out for coffee. My relationship with his family became something natural, without the heaviness it once carried. They moved on with their lives, and so did I. And that's how life went on. I moved on, wiser, stronger, and above all, happier. Because I learned that love isn't about one-sided sacrifice. Love is about respect, care, and reciprocity. And that's exactly what I found.